Good morning, everybody. How is everybody doing today? We've got a little bit more energy today because this is our Sunday stream later on in the day. We are playing 7 Days to Die with our dear, lovely Dar. I'm currently deafened, so Dar cannot hear me, but everybody else, just know that Dar is here. We'll go talk to Dara just a little bit, but we're going to go through all of our stuff we do every single stream. For those of you who haven't been in one of these streams before, we're going to be playing 7 Days to Die. There will be, there's a button down below to join, get some points to affect our game. There will be different times where there's votes, as well as a thing on the screen that'll let you know when you can, request certain things and make certain things active and get me murdered. But yes. Or help me. You're also going to help me. That is an option as well. So first, let's go through all of our check-ins. Good morning. Oh, it's Dar. Well, I'll say hi to Dar in just a sec. Good morning, Silvervang. Thank you for getting second. Good morning, Ellie. Eli, sorry. I'm getting bonked. Of course I'm getting bonked. Why are you bonking me? Good morning, Ellie, or Eli, sorry. Thank you for getting third. And then, of course, mornings to everyone who checked in. So, good morning, Ziggy. Good morning, Catherine. Good morning, Jinx. Good morning, Anya and Silverfang. Good morning, Jibbets and Nelia. Wow, my brain. Neela. Good morning, Meow Kitty. Good morning, Allison. Good morning, Solian. Good morning, Lunar. Thank you for getting the points, Jimmets. Good morning, Julia. Good morning, Nap Time. Good morning, Huntress. Good morning, Radish. Good morning, Infernal. Echo Infernal. Good morning. Oh, thank you for the stretch. Congratulations on the year 10 stream streak, Ziggy. Good morning, Cat. Good morning, Misty. Good morning, Elliptical Panda. Good morning, Carnia and Sinful Microwave. And good morning, Anikaz. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? And good morning, Mystic. All right, we're going to pause the music. I'm going to go head over to say hi to Dar. But how's everybody doing today? Everybody doing all right? You all sleep okay? Detecting this might be in the opposite time zone. You are correct. It is morning. It is midnight. Oof.
Technically, despite the opposite time zone, you are correct. It is the morning. It is midnight.
Amazing. I'm also eating a banana this morning to wake up a little bit. I have fruit. Fruit's so good for you. Yum, yum, yum. I'm sorry to hear that, Catherine. I hope it gets better. Okay. You got gluten. Oh, no, nap time. I'm sorry to hear that. I do think it's a... Star shooting things, chat. I do think it's interesting that so many people are on the same time zone, but I guess we have people all over the world, so it makes sense. Good morning, Dar. Can you hear me all right? You can't? You sure? Oh, I haven't unmuted you yet.
I can't hear you.
There we go. There's Dar, chat. Chat, fight Dar. IRL, let's go. Everybody,
right, chat, we're wrestling. Let's go.
I'm sending you all of Dar's address right now. No, I'm kidding. We're not doing that. Before I get in trouble or Vanya comes in and be like, "Gee, you can't say that." I'm like, yeah, I can ruin myself.
So big brain idea, all right? Hear me out.
Uh-huh.
All right. So I was taking a look at the quests, right?
Okay.
We don't have to go in order of the zones.
Right.
We can skip any. So big brain, what if we complete all the wasteland quests and get the gear so we can live there and make our final base in the hardest area?
Okay, I guess I need to join you on the questing then.
I mean, it's not too hard. I was looking at how we do it. It's actually really fucking easy to get this done.
Oh wait, it's that's the one where they do give me a second. Like it's the actual like reward thing, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's if you go to your quest, it's like the last tab or whatever.
Bonus pinpoint rate. Wait a second.
It's the biome one. Are you getting on your XP for Twitch? Hey.
Do you know what's also funny? I was looking for like where you get all the lucky looters or like all the looting stuff. I didn't realize there was a category that says general perks.
Yeah.
So I was like, because I went to play by myself one of these days, and there's like armor stuff in there too. Yeah, it's so crazy. So I can start getting some of that stuff. I'm gonna leave stream and go back to Eep. Okay, enjoy your Eep. You sleep well. Dar's a masochist confirmed. Yeah, valid. All right, let me see. Oh, my brain is gone now again. Oh, I just threw my. Okay. What's going on? We are. Oh, brain. Hello, brain. Good morning, brain. Hello, everybody. I'm so out of it. I did stay up a little bit later than I should have. Which you know how we do.
Naughty.
Where's the which button is it? I dropped my bandages again. There it is. Okay, survival gear.
Gene, do you think my Final
radiation
Fantasy
one,
mom is going to
quests
scold me
aren't
for
too
making like
hard.
300
We
chocolates?
can go in that area without struggling. We can make a base there. So the main reason I like the idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're in a harder zone, when they redeem stuff, it spawns more stuff and harder stuff too. I don't know if you noticed that when we were doing it yesterday.
Ooh.
Anytime they spawned vultures, it was like 3 to 4 of them instead of just one.
Oh, okay. So we need radiant mushrooms.
Basically, we just need to go there, collect stuff, and craft the flush, which I didn't see how you make that actually. One sec, let's pull this up. Fallout flush. Oh, we do need the Era Super Corn.
Oh, shoot. I don't even know what we're gonna.
2 of those. I think the trade. One sec. I think the trader had some. I can go buy them this though, and just make this super easy.
Wait. Made 9,000 boiled eggs because they forgot culinarian made 3 per craft. Wait, I'm confused.
What?
Well, I hope you're doing okay with whatever happened. You can tell I don't play Minecraft. Final Fantasy. Wow. Who's here? It's not me. I'm not here actually, chat. I'm sorry. I actually clocked out 3 hours ago. You'll never find me. He.
So that was in Final Fantasy. I thought you were just talking about someone making straight up 9,000 boiled eggs. I'm like, God damn.
Can you imagine accidentally making 9,000 boiled eggs?
That's what I was like, how the fuck do you accidentally make 9,000 eggs?
Also, what do you mean your Final Fantasy mother? What is that? Is that a thing in Final Fantasy? Do you have mothers in Final Fantasy? Are you motherless? You can? Okay, let me one bump. Did you make money off of them? Yeah. Cool.
Hey, good news. We have ears. We have the ear corns we need. They did have some here, so we can just do it that way.
Awesome. Is there anything else I need for this? Is there anything else I can put on this? I don't think there is. That's lame. Oh, I wonder what these legendary things are, by the way. Have you had to use legendary for anything?
They're usually used to make like tier 6 stuff.
What are we on?
Tier 5 of the items. Tier 6 makes it's basically the highest upgrade you can get for an item.
Oh, okay. So I just learned how to make machetes, but I can also make a tier 6 knife.
Yeah, so in the end, I think the tier 1 knife is still better. The tier 1 machete is still better than tier 6 thing, but when you can get to tier 6 machetes, that's like the best one you can make.
Okay, and I can make a tier 6 machine gun. But I can't make an M60 yet. Okay. It's my friend who got me into FF14. She's taught me and helped me in the game. She made a joke needing a baby leash from me. I kept wandering off and oh, I got you. Okay, that makes more sense. Y'all don't understand how fried my brain is right now. I was up late hanging out. I was on Muumu's stream. Y'all have seen Muumu. They're very cool. And I just threw an item on the ground instead of attaching it to my gun. Oh my god, help me. Somebody help. Somebody put me out of my misery real quick. All right, I got this. I got this. I'm fine, I swear. Okay. Let me modify some guns. I'm gonna modify you. Boop, with a scope. With this. I can't put a semi on you? That's too bad. Modify. What can I put on you? Can I put the foregrip? No, I can't. Okay. That's so dumb. I have the compound bow, right? And there's only so much stuff you can put on the compound bow. And so I think I don't even have a fourth mod that I could put on it even if I wanted to. Thank you for the look, Misty Chew. How you doing, Mystic Chew? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, Gene, do you think my phone? You already asked. Wow. Who? Oh boy. All right, everybody. You're gonna ask me questions. Do you want meds this morning? Yeah, I need meds. I need my meds. I'll be right back. Dar, entertain them. I believe in you.
Shit. Fuck. Hey, chat, I'm gonna kill Gene, not because you guys can see that. How about that? Is that good?
No killing me. No killing me. I haven't left yet.
Oh, chat, one sec.
I'm gonna brick myself up in a corner. Activated silly on Dar so that while Dar murders me, it's goofy. Wait, who won? Somebody won? Who won what? Huh? Actually, I want to see. You know, it's funny. It's like I could do what you do, where you test ammo on me. But I think like the problem is my strongest ammo would probably be like explosive.
And just explode me real quick. What could go wrong?
I got it. Fire. Let's go. Woo!
That your bow turned doing good.
Me when my bow turns into a gun. Every game that has a magnum should have the ability to play Russian roulette. Anyways, we're back.
I agree, actually, big time. Oh, who won Jeopardy? It was the Siffy. All right, chat. How's everyone doing? How are we all vibing? Everyone doing good? Heck yeah. Yep, I'm glad to hear. That's good. Me all being good is good. I'm sunburnt from going to a Ren Fair. Oh, you went to a Ren Fair? That's so awesome. Let's do my 3. Oh, I'm sorry, Jinx. Bro, I haven't played Final Fantasy in so long. One of these days I will. One day. Chad, I think they're back.
Good morning. I'm back. I took my meds. I also have a can of
Yippee!
I have a can of raviolis.
Raviolis?
Raviolis.
You gonna share?
Can I eat out of my can of raviolis? We'll
Want to hear a joke? My brain. Wait, I want to hear a joke. Wait. Nap's got a joke.
Nap,
We're
I'm
gonna
ready for the
judge you on
joke.
this joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna judge you hard. This better be a good joke.
Well, I will. I might like hate you forever if this joke is.
No pressure or anything, but
This can decide your future in the stream. Thank you for the lurk, Moonflower.
Bro, we're out of gas. What the hell?
Oh, I'm gonna work on getting some gas, actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on collecting this stuff to make those radiation fruits because we need yucca fruits and we can get those in the desert. So I'm gonna go find a desert.
Nice. Me when my yucca be fruitin'. She yucca on my fruit. Sorry.
Hey, yo. I just registered. I was like spaced out, and I'm like, oh, wait a moment. Also, the other reason I want to make the base in the radiation area, I'm pretty sure blood moons are going to be a lot more hell in there.
Don't worry about it. My brain is gone, chat.
If I only had a brain.
I most definitely do not have a brain. All right. It's time.
I think we scared Nap away from the joke. I think we put too much pressure on them, chat.
I was joking, Nap. You're fine. Hello, Ray. Welcome to the menagerie. I need food. Hey, chat, you want to give me food? Ah! Sorry. Spikes.
You know, pilots.
Did you know pilots meow to piss off Delta pilots? Why'd the plane cross the Delta to see
pilots? Why'd the plane cross?
To see a what?
To see you? My brain is either too stupid to get that.
Bye, Catherine. Be good. No. Oh, to see you? Do you know pilots meow to piss off Delta pilots? Why'd the plane cross the Delta? To see you. To see me?
I'm too stupid to get it. I don't get it, Gene. I don't get it.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm sorry, you got two dumb streamers here. Ah, I'm stuck again. You're not allowed to make jokes that make sense. They have to be dumb.
I gotta remember, I got an IQ of 1.
I just have an I. There's no Q.
You don't even have a Q.
No. It's funny to aviation people. You might be surprised. I have never once in my entire life flown a plane. I know, right?
What I think we're gonna do. I'm going.
Oh, y'all gotta vote first. Don't do it, chat. Don't do it.
If chat does this, I will find you, chat.
What the heck is this? Oh.
Just a random turret on the thing. I don't fucking know.
Nourishment. Give me nourishment. Nourish me, chat. Nourish me.
I really need some nourishment, man. I could really go for some nourishment. Yes, good chat. Good chat.
I think I might need to go to the desert to get oil.
I'm trying to find the desert right now. Actually, we've not found it yet.
Thank you.
Yes.
Half my friends are acoustic. They love planes. You got the plane acoustics?
That's pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah, that's a rare variant.
Oh, by the way, I have a lot of gas now.
Where'd you get the gas?
I just bought fucking 4K from the trader.
Oh, nice.
I'm just like, fuck this. I gotta travel a lot anyways.
No, I'm gonna need to get even more fuel than that because I'm gonna have to pump up my pump up the jam, pump it up while the bass is thumping. No, I need oh shoot. The drill. I need to get a lot of gas for the drill, so when we build the base, I can make a
fair.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we also need to find an item that I know you love looking for.
Which is?
We do need a bottle of acids.
At least, I don't know if we have the loot for it. If we ever found the book.
I don't think we did either. God damn it! This is the snow biome. Fuck.
Me when I be snowing. Oh, Mr. Supplies.
That's so fucking big. I don't know where shit's at.
Ow. They be hitting me. I'm complaining to Mom. I don't have a mom. Well, I do have a mom. That's a lie. I was spawned. I wasn't actually born.
No, well, chat hurt you. How does that make you feel?
Why would you hurt me? Baby girl, why'd you hurt me? Ooh, glow mushroom. I found glow shrooms. Yay, glow shrooms.
Yeah, we need a bit of those. Harvest snows wouldn't be bad.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow,
Meow,
meow, meow.
meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow.
That looked painful. All right, I got mushrooms.
I just noticed something. My bike's about to break. I don't got any repair kits.
Have you thought about that? Is game audio muted? No. 1 second.
Did you forget to unmute the game?
Yes. No, chat. Game's not muted. Why would it be muted? What kind of dork would do something like that? How are you doing today? I am
something like that.
so tired. I am so tired. Why is Pinky in a jar?
I put them in a jar.
Why'd you put Pinky in a jar?
Because they belong in the jar.
That's fair. It was muted. It was not. It's been like this the whole time, chat. You just can't hear. Because you're goofy
Yeah,
and
chat, you
silly.
had to use your ears. Come on.
Listen to me. Yeah, just listen harder next time, y'all. A dork with red hair. Chat, who's your favorite streamer of all time? I believe in you. You can do this. It's an easy question. There is wrong answers. Hi, Chubb. How you doing? Come on, chat. What's the right? Markiplier. Markiplier? Who? Markiplier?
That's a pretty good streamer, honestly.
When's the last time Markiplier streamed?
Oh.
Kenji and Gene. Kenji's valid. Dar's been listed a few times. Okay. I mean, like, I saw that one coming. But, like...
Oh, why that one came? That should be on the bottom of the list, honestly.
Game Theory is not a stream. I guess they do stream sometimes. Most critical. Not moist. Most critical. There we go. Good, I'm glad I'm your favorite streamer, as I should be. Nope, it's most critical.
Most critical is the new critical.
Everybody, it's Markiplier here. That's everybody, it's Markiplier here. Actually, this is me, Markiplier. Kenji's like me, he's sassy. Kenji fucking dumb. Roof. I got made to bark on a stream I was on yesterday.
That's beautiful.
Good night, sleep well. I told them about the barking thing, and they're like, oh, then you better bark for us. I'm like, what do you mean? Iron Mouse?
That's a good...
Yeah.
All right, Gene, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's your favorite big VTuber?
Gross. Who watches VTubers?
You got to have a favorite big one. Come on.
The only favorite big one I have is my Anyway.
Hey, yo!
Yeah, boxes. I love Map Hat. Gene, it's snowing. Hey, congrats. Oh, no. It's cold. It might... My bike's going...
One of these supply boxes have fucking repair kits. No. Get silly sounds. Freddy Repair Kit so fucking bad.
Hey, look, I found my dead body. From who knows how long ago, jeez.
Bro, this fucking map is huge, Gene. What the fuck?
You know what's funny? I realize now that I could have chosen a smaller version of this map.
What the fuck, Gene? I'm trying to find the desert. I found every biome, though.
This is literally the largest the map could be.
I mean, to be honest, it's kind of cool. I kind of want to get the final stuff built and the final vehicles and stuff. I feel like if we can get to the helicopter tier, that would be so fun on this map.
Yeah. Oh, what the? God, terrified me. I'm radiated. Why would you do this?
Oh wait, I just realized we're getting late.
Yeah.
You want the good news or the bad news?
Bad news.
I'm 90% sure the next day or two in the game, they're going to start being able to spawn direwolves on you.
That is terrifying.
Hey, chat. Boosted melee.
Thank you. I blew up his body. Amazing.
I fucking...
That's insane. I can't believe you do that. I thought I turned off visual effects. Does it keep turning
it off every time?
Oh, it's so dumb. Alley action preset. It's hardcore, dude. Alright, there we go. We turned off visual effects.
I think I found my new favorite thing to do in this game.
What?
Hit people with a hammer and they turn into confetti.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's pretty fun. Alright, good news. I got the yucca fruit we need. Now I think we're only missing the acid for these two quests. Yeah, we need 10 radiation mushrooms and a bottle of acid.
Nice. Well, I guess we'll go to stores and see if we can find acid.
Actually, that's a good point. I'm in the desert. I should find the store here.
Is this still the wasteland?
Do you have the debuff for radiation?
No, I just see the wasteland. Oh, it's the burned zone. That's right. How dare you?
You reversing people.
I like confetti. But yes, oh, sorry, I didn't see this.
No, let's go, chat.
Let's go.
By the way, I know you said you were curious on where the desert was. If you look on the map, I'm in the desert.
That's a good point. Did I choose the wrong direction? Where's Dar? Chat, where's Dar? Chat, where's Dar?
Go to the right of your map.
Chat, Dar's gone. Dar's not on this map. They removed Dar from the game.
I'm a little bit south and a lot right from where you're at.
You're holding. Hello, Beamy. What's up, sweetie? Can we get a shout out for the lovely Beamy? Beamy's a fantastic ASM artist. They are very skib. They once fought off a pack of wolves with just a pair of toenail clippers. It was very impressive.
That's pretty cool, honestly.
Right. And everything you say about them is immediately true if it's positive.
Oh, good to know.
You skibbity. I miss. Thank you for the glare. You're welcome for glazing it. Bro. The game is louder than me? Well, because chat complained earlier. I blame you, chat. Thank you for letting me know.
When in doubt, blame chat.
When in doubt, eat a trout. That very common saying everybody knows.
I mean, I'd eat a trout. They're pretty good.
Yeah, me too. Hi, Cammy Cutie. How you doing? Oh, cool. Rogue hood. Maybe I'll be a rogue. Maybe I'll be Batman, chat. Oh, heck yeah. Exploding arrows. Chat, I've decided I'm going to be Robin Hood. We're going to be Robin in that hood. Let's put on the rogue helmet.
Any repair kits? Wait, you said you want the assassin outfit?
The rogue outfit, yeah.
Oh, not the assassin outfit? That's sad. I just found a level 4 assassin chest piece, so
I'll take it. I'll take it, yeah. Y'all mean to me. Why are you trying to kill me?
Chad, are you trying to kill Gene?
Don't kill me. Look at me. Look how cool I look with my stupid farmer outfit. What's the rogue outfit even do, actually? Stamina. Is there anything special about it? Find more cash. Nice. You telling me to be dead? So rude.
I really do be trying to kill you. That's
Why you be? I can't believe why you be. Explain to me. Explain to me why. Right now, chat. Give me $5. Give me $5.
Right, chat, you heard him. Give him $5. Where's the sub at?
Yeah, give me. Wow, chat, you're so mean to me. Pay me. If you're gonna be rude to me, you might as well give me money. Wow, you're broke. That's I can't believe you. Real AF. I'm gonna start doing that. Whenever anybody's ever mean to me, like somebody honks at me in traffic, I'm just gonna be like, okay, pay me.
Give me money. Pay me for that.
Yeah. I'm not cool with that. Pay me. Give me.
You know, hey chat, are you guys able to give me repair kits by any chance? Anyone want to be nice? If so, my bike is at 8 HP.
I have 11. I have none.
How do we?
There's hashtags on the screen. I don't think we have any supply ones open. Me when speaking of the words. Supply utility, yeah. Still on cooldown. Thank you, Ocean.
Unfortunate.
I'm waiting for the storm to end. Chat, I'm bored. Can you send things to kill me?
Chat, kill Gene.
Chat, send things to murder me. Oh. All right, God, I have healed enough. Send me another. Thank you, Jabbits.
Man, they really do be trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted.
I like the shotgun.
Isn't it nice?
If I can aim.
I mean, it doesn't really take that much to aim with a shotgun. It's a new day.
Man, storm's still going on.
Storms last a long fucking time sometimes. I hate them.
Oh, hey! Thank you for the new follow. Welcome to the menagerie. Enjoy your work. Box of stuff. Yay, box of stuff.
A box of stuff. That's
Miner
pretty cool.
gloves. I didn't know they made gloves for them. Alright. Back in we go. What's your vehicles at?
My vehicle is, it's like 50 or 40 something.
I got another book.
Vehicles, I'm at 45. We are 25 away from being able to make the... Oh, we have enough to make the motorcycle. I can now craft motorcycles. We have the next tier if we can get all the stuff for it.
Heck yeah.
We're
That'd be worth
15...
it.
yeah, we're 25 away from being able to make the truck.
I'm still listening. Nice. Why is the storm so long? I'm bored.
I think they're about to give you something to do.
Oh my god. We're just gonna use the bow, chat. I got this. There we go. Storm, end already. Let me leave. I want to go.
I mean, you could just big dick it and go during the storm.
No, but I need to head through this area more. I'm trying to find... why would you confuse me? I'm trying to find oil.
Oh, that's fair.
It's probably in the desert. I think the desert's always easier to find things in.
Yeah, I think the desert has the oil nodes you can find.
Fine, I'm going to the desert.
I mean, just gotta come to me.
Me in the desert. Eating desert. Fine. Thank you for the ammo. Always appreciated. We're gonna fill up the gas. We're gonna repair you. And now we're gonna go. Vanya, I am actually dead. I've been dead this whole time. Oh, thank you for the hydrate, by the way. Cheers. Ugh. I was 3 feet away from the edge of the burning zone this entire time.
You're joking.
I forgot. I was in like the first thing. No, you're not free. You'll never be free. I'm sorry. Even in my death, I will survive forever. Good day, mate. Good morning, Phantom Jester. I hope you're doing all right. I'm very, very tired and very, very unfocused. But together we can be also very tired and unfocused as one. Ooh, do you have gas?
I do have gas.
Not you.
Oh, well, fuck you.
Oh, well, I don't know. 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 I don't What's this? Dynamite! You'll never be free. Sorry, but that's the way it be. Ooh. Ooh, maybe I want Ranger, actually.
That makes sense if you're using bows.
Reload fast with revolvers and lever action.
Oh yeah, that's what that one does. I was thinking something else. Never mind.
Scrap. Gather round, you lads and lasses, sit here for a while and hearken to me mournful tale about the Emerald Isle. Hi, little mouse. How you doing? Everybody's died until our tears are dried. We'll drink and drink and drink and drink, and then we'll drink some more. Early morning light. Can I be Irish? You just watched my video. Oh, what video was it? Was it good? And then go drinking once again. I wish I could be Irish, but unfortunately God denied me that right. I was born and God was like, you're not going to be Irish. And I cried. That's why all babies cry as children, is because they weren't allowed to be Irish when they were born. Everyone's like, no, it's because the doctor smacks the butt of the baby to make sure that it's breathing and existing properly. No. Babies just really want to be Irish. They're like, I could have learned how to have an Irish jig. I could have wore green during St. Paddy's Day in America. Irish babies don't cry. Irish babies do not cry because they're afraid of the British. They know that England is right there, and so they have to be quiet just in case the Queen comes back. You were born in Australia. See? You only made it halfway there. You still have to deal with the fear of the Queen. Because you were once a territory. Oh, I know the Queen died. No. I know the Queen died. We still have to fear her. She might come back. You know what they say? Queens never cry. And neither do the Irish. This is in my way.
That is unfortunate.
Lizzie might have a Phoenix down. Zombie Queen. Hello. Me when I could go around this, but I've decided not to.
Oh yeah, that's valid.
Hey, I'm doing something here. There we go. Anyways. So my answers killed their king? Nice.
What happens if your bike breaks?
It explodes and you cry.
So I tried to find a repair kit in this building. I had no luck.
If I ever see you, I have like 19 of them.
Well, if you look at the map, we're very far from each other. Was gathering the fruit for us.
You want to explode? You're not allowed to explode. I'm sorry. No exploding, chat. No, is that a house? What the hey? Yo, I need to check this place out. I forgot this happens sometimes. Have you ever seen this? I don't know if this happens in any other country. Have you ever seen where they just deliver a house on a truck?
Oh yeah, I've seen those on the road.
Yeah, you and I have most definitely seen it. Because we live in places where this happens. But does this happen in England or anything? Or Aussie land? Yeah, I never think about it. Father, can I have 3 cans of Red Bull? You may have a Red Bull. I think my favorite one's when they deliver like half of a modular home. In Germany, no, never. I don't think like the roads are wide enough in Germany. I mean, the U-Bahn is, but no, the U-Bahn, yeah, the what's it called? Where's the thing that you drive on in Germany? Autobahn. The Autobahn is, but Most of the roads probably not. Also, buildings are better quality. Let's be honest. Every morning I drink and drink and drink and drink, and then we'll drink some more. Until the early morning light, and we'll go pick up, and then go drinking once again.
I want to get back to you, but I don't feel like I can with my bike's health. I'm looting buildings, hoping to find something.
Yo, what the heck? What the hecky?
You're bringing you all the friends. I mean, you did say earlier you wanted them to try to kill you.
That's fair. Oh, Jesus. What am I hearing? Jeez. Ooh, bow hunting. Yay. I can make wooden quality. Wow, my bow. I got this. Anyways. Whee! There we go. What are we getting? Home Run Derby. Oh, I love Home Run Derby.
Phone, buddy.
Let me get in a nice open space. I'm not here right now. Good morning, Chad. Gene is not here right now. Please leave a message after the tone. Oh, I am actually here. I'm sorry I lied to you, Vanya. Get lied to, nerd. And you're drinking once again. When heaven light gets you. Oh, that scared me. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where? There they are. Whenever life gets you down, leaves you wearing a frown, and the gravy train has left you behind. I missed. When you're all out of hope, then at the end of your rope, and nobody's there to throw you a line. If you ever feel so low you don't know which way to go, come on and take a walk in my shoes. Never worry about a thing, got the world on a string, 'cause I've got the cure for all of them blues. I take a look at my enormous penis, and my troubles start melting away. I take a look at my enormous penis, and the happy times are coming to stay. Well, I sing and I dance. Do I have any steroids? When I glance in my pants, I got a feeling like a sunshiny day. Take a look at my enormous penis. A trouser monster. Come here. My meat is murder. Hit the balloon. There it is. Everything is going my way. There it is. I think it's funny that they don't actually hurt me, but they do mess up my armor really badly.
Yeah. It's kind of bullshit.
Yay!
Oh, hey, a random box of reward for home run derby spawned near me. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Did he give you anything good?
No, that just gave me coins and drinks like it normally does. But it's kind of funny that I get the reward box when I'm not even near you.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You deserve it. You did so
I honestly, I did a lot of work there.
good. Dar has sung worse. What is Dar singing that's worse? When Dar just be singing aggressive rap songs without censoring any of the words. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't think I have. I think I'm being slandered right now.
Wow. Bonnie would never slander. Dar likes the horsecock song. Would you say Dar likes?
Yeah, Jesus.
Well, there's no cock like horsecock. Send your into shock. Hey, thank you for the follow. Why would you follow for that?
That's a crazy time to get a follow.
You was making a bracelet and broke it. I'm sorry. Was it my fault? I will take the blame. What do you mean there's no space? Oh, right. I forgot I has to do this dumb thing. It's like, you gotta put it in your inventory first before we can equip it. Got him. Let's refuel. I'm going the wrong direction again.
I'm proud of you.
The horse of approval. I like the horse of approval. Yeah, you can kick me in the face any day. I'm so sorry I yelled and it made you flinch. I believe in you, though.
Sorry.
I'm a little sorry. Tiny bit. Itty bitty.
Sure, moment.
Me when the itties be bitty?
Those itty bitties.
Hey!
Motherfucking reverse.
Who was it?
Gibbets. Oh, and now we're confused by gibbets too.
You were kicked at your work? Who's kicking you at your work? That's crazy. Beat him up. I'm legally allowing you to commit crimes. Go for it. Oh, I see what this is.
Why would you activate deafen? Silver hates me, confirmed. Why would you activate deafen?
They do.
Yeah, Silver hates me.
Slip inside into the... Oh, looks like they're working on like a bunker here or something. That's kind of fun. That would suck. Can you imagine like preparing for the end of the world and then like you just didn't get a finish? You got so close to finishing your world bunker.
Made bunker fucking die right before. Silver, how many times do I have to tell you it wasn't your first if I got it? So I didn't steal anything.
You stole first, you shark.
I didn't steal it if it was mine. You know?
Yeah, Dar believes Dar's entitled to it. Me when I am big greedy. Oh. I like horses. Horses like me too. I ride horses. I am a horse chat.
You're a horse?
I know. I'm sorry to let you all know, but I've been a horse this entire time. Nay. Nay, 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 nay. And then occasionally I also hit that. Nay. You know, I forgot. We've been playing this for a little while now. I forgot this was the one where we went through the hybrid mining area. And there was like the crazy, yeah.
You can probably find oil there, you know?
I must make it to the desert. Oh, Beamy, wow. Beamy doesn't say anything for a while and just comes in. So you like being rode?
Hey, yo.
Nay. Don't hit you, though. Yo, I'm gonna hit that, nay. Alright, Nay. You're gonna train me to run? No. I refuse. It's the one thing I don't do. I will lift heavy objects. You can make me fight things. I'm not running. The world better be ending. Don't bonk me.
You're gonna run or you're gonna turn into glue, buddy.
I don't wanna be glue.
I better get running.
At least make me into the IKEA meatballs. I'm gonna be an IKEA meatball chat.
True life goals right there.
Why would you slow me?
Silver?
The second I finally remember that I can speed up the bike, I immediately get slowed. There we go. Slip inside and hand and day away, 'cause there's no like If I get explosives, I will blow up this entire house. Just letting you know that, chat. I will blow up this entire house if I get explosives. Immediately get more explosives. Give me explosives. You know you want to. You know you want to give me explosives. Here we go. I'm blowing it up anyways. What do we got? Oh, books.
Books are good.
There's a bunch of random supplies. I got explosives, yay! Unfortunately for you all, chat, I'm gonna blow up this house no matter what you do. I want to see what happens if I blow up all the foundation. Hello, Ginger Fox. Hello, Philip Failure. Are you winning? No. What's winning? Some of them apply to only me, some of them apply to both of us.
Most of the time, I think they apply to both of us, so. Summoning stuff, when we summon on Gene, buffs and stuff do apply to both of us.
I think you can choose Dar specifically to summon things on.
Yes, you can choose me to summon stuff on too, that is correct.
Open.
I think I've just accepted my bike's gonna break.
Don't accept it.
I can't find the shop. I'm dying. I think this is just fate. It's just gonna be how it be, you know?
I do
No
not
reason
know.
to fight it.
There's plenty of reason to fight it. Chat, I'm blowing up the closet everybody was in. You're no longer allowed to be in the closet. Nope, you can't be in the closet anymore, chat. My redeems.
Check your redeems.
Which redeems? Oh. I'm such a good doggy. I'm such a good doggy. There you go. You happy? Chat, I'm gay. Get wrecked, nerds. I knew it. Hey, look. Secret tunnel. Secret tunnel. I can't believe I found a secret tunnel. Oh. Apparently that was the entrance. It was a lame secret tunnel. It's a vibe, I'll smash. Vibes. I came out of the kitchen. I came out of the kitchen. Mom and Dad, I'm fat. Yeah, we know. Oh, cool. It's one of the stupidest things I think I've ever said. No, I've said worse. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the menagerie. Why am I slow? Oh, because I quit my drugs. Chat, can you give me drugs? My lovely little void links. Give me steroids.
Chat, I need drugs. Give them to me, chat. We need them drugs.
Give me some steroids, chat. Wait, has Dar been through? Damn it, Dar!
What?
He didn't fully loot these boxes, so they didn't refill.
Get fucked.
I blew up half this building. I go in, and it's just like, you know, only old loot. He dies like a coward. No, I got a forge book for you. Ah.
I'm searching for this shop because I can stay on the big roads and I'm getting no luck.
Didn't you mark them on your map?
I haven't found the one in the desert.
Oh, good luck.
Bro, I'm about to just drive off into the wilderness and accept my death. Start over from scratch.
What is... Whoa. Oh, it looks different in chat. Okay, never mind. I'm like, what the heck is Mattias Cat Jam? Who the heck is Mattias?
Drugs are bad for dogs, okay?
Drugs are bad for everybody. Give me drugs.
Okay.
Was our mom though? There is no mom. I'm sorry, chat. There never was a mom. Plot twist.
Interesting. Well, I found the edge of the map, I think.
Tara's been heading the wrong direction.
I kind of want to go in here and accept my death.
Is it the ocean?
Yeah,
Don't go in the ocean, Dar.
but it's calling to me.
No, don't go to the ocean, Dar.
It's calling my name though.
Dar enters the ocean, immediately becomes shark form, never comes back. Dar's mom now. No, Dar's the lover.
Huh?
Secret lover. Secret lover. Secret lover. Through the mountain. Secret lover. My name's Nightmares. I came from TikTok. Hello, welcome. Today is one of the low energy, low effort streams. I hope you enjoy your time here because we're just messing around. Welcome. Secret lover. Secret. Did I change the stream title? I think I did.
Yeah.
But I didn't change the stream streak. Ooh, box.
Bro.
Is it drugs? Did you give me drugs? Did you give me drugs? Did you give me drugs? Is there drugs in these boxes? Did you give me drugs, chat? Did you give me drugs? Steroids! Woo! Love you, chat.
I somehow made myself into the burnt forest now.
Yeah! Steroids! Woo! There's worse things to come in on. I somehow ended up in the snow.
Well, on the bright side, I'm finding a whole bunch of 5 stars.
We'll have some more fun places to loot.
And, you know, I'm finally doing the smart thing, and I'm marking them on my map with waypoints.
There you go, Dar. You're marking it with one of the symbols, not just like a red waypoint, right?
Yeah, I'm marking them as 5s, the 5 symbol for 5 star.
Okay. What's this? Hexagon Hideaway.
All them smooching on my who smooching? What did I miss?
Nothing.
People are smooching, huh?
Chat, are you smooching? Chat, have you been smooching?
You didn't let me watch?
Crazy. No crimes. Kissing's illegal, chat. We live in the country of kissing is illegal, Stan. Oh, whoa, what the heck is this? Dar, if we ever need a new base, I found our new base.
Oh, did you find the underground lab? I might have looted that one already.
No, this was the Hexagon Hideaway.
Okay. Bro, I just want repair kits, man. I'm trying. I got birds trying to eat my ass, and I don't appreciate it.
It's me, I'm the bird. I love just blowing people up. This is insane. Chat, come get a kiss. Chat, no kissing. No, I said kissing's illegal. What are you doing? Don't you dare kiss.
I just thought I'd inform you in chat I ran over a bunny.
What? Why would you run over a bunny?
It was in my way.
Wow. That's crazy, Dar. This would actually be a really sick base if we had more people.
It wasn't a zombie bunny, it was a normal bunny. I left the dead body in the road. It's now roadkill.
Oh, jeez. I've decided I'm opening this. Can I unlock it? No. There has to be a way to get in here.
Yeah, if it's the thing I am thinking, there's a few switches you have to find. I think it's like 3 of them.
I have to find switches?
Yeah, little buttons and stuff.
Lame. I don't want to find buttons.
No, find the fucking button.
I don't wanna.
I didn't ask what you want, boy. Gotta find them buttons.
Can we boost melee?
God damn it.
Hey, chat, you want to boost melee for me?
I think they're voting right now, so they can't, but god damn it. Hey, if they give you energize, though, you can just sit there spamming it.
If you outlaw smooching and you put a bunch of illegal smoochers in a room, what's gonna happen?
They're not gonna kiss because it's a crime, right? They won't do anything because it's a crime to kiss. Smooch off? No smooching off. No smooch off. I said the crime. Why would you do that?
Smooch it off.
Smooch Rebellion? What? No!
That's a certain type of rebellion.
I'm defeating the store.
I believe in you, Jane. Oh, that'll help out a lot.
Yay! We're in! There's more people in here. Good morning, Brenna. Morning, morning, morning. How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? Hope you're all doing fantastic. Also, now that I know that this exists, let me go. I'm getting screamed at.
Why are you being screamed at?
I don't know. No smooching. No smooching. Smooching's illegal. Smooching is now a crime. Stop it. Stop kissing. Stop kissing right now.
I'm gonna die in this forest, Gene.
That sounds about right. That's always where I thought you'd go.
You have to find my body.
No. I do not.
I refuse to go.
I'm not taking a quest of like, you must find your father's body. No. What do you mean no?
What, CG? I took all the loot from our base and it resides on the body. I took all the food, the water.
I have the deed to our property. Imagine if that's just like a thing. It's like, when I left you, I also took the deed to the property as well as all the bank passwords so that you would have to come find my body when I died in the wilderness. I knew I was going to die in the wilderness.
If you don't find my body, you lose everything.
Smooches for everyone. Besos. Mua mua.
That's crazy. The bank is gonna come foreclose on the house unless you let me find my body.
Must find it, Gene. You got to come find it.
Oh, I fell down the hole.
Why is everyone licking in chat? What the hell?
That's not making out. That's just licking each other.
Yeah, that ain't making that definitely ain't no making out.
That's also illegal. Quit committing crime. No crime. No crime here. No crime.
Yo, Gene, yo, chat be a little slobbery right now.
Maybe they be slopping.
They do be slopping.
Social distance. Social distance. That's fair. That's fair.
Smooches sun up to sundown.
Bro, who is sun and why are you smooching his up and his down? I can now make wooden bow quality 6. I also have a level 5 compound bow.
I love where it's like, yeah, you can make that. Meanwhile, I have like the 3 tiers ahead higher level. Like, yay!
I'm so happy.
I feel accomplished.
Oh, Raider outfit, sick. I'm not gonna use it. Get out of here with your stupid butt. I wonder if there's a witch up top and that's what's been happening.
That'd be fucking hilarious.
Blam, 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 blah, la, 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 la.
What the heck? Blam, 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 blah, blah, blah.
You can't stop the smooches.
I can. I'm just gonna time out everybody who smooches. Just kidding. I wouldn't do that. Everybody's getting timed out because they're smooching.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. When you look right through me. Oh, what's this? Oh god! Oh god!
You good there, boo?
I drove over a mine and it didn't explode. I got lucky.
You find yourself a 5-star?
Oh, it is. Let's not breach here then. I need gas.
We're already
though,
in a
so.
cage. What are you gonna do? Put us in
Double
more
cage.
cages?
Yeah, I'm gonna put you in more cages. Cages inside of cages.
Oh shit. Got the cage inside the cage inside the cage?
I'm gonna put individual body parts in cages. I'm gonna put your fingers in the cage so that you can't use your fingers anymore. No, I'm kidding. Oh, have you ever tried resin tea? Like tea resin?
Can't say I have.
I want to try tea resin. It looks good.
This sounds interesting.
Is it? I might get some. I might get some. What are handcuffs but hand cages? You're right. You so right.
You put us in smaller cages just means we're closer for faster smooches.
I mean separate cages. Separate cages. You're not all going into a cage together. Y'all, I might be dumb.
Oh, was that it? There's no second
Yeah,
part?
no, I just wanted to remind you all.
I was expecting more. I'm like, eh?
No.
You are.
Oh! I was expecting more! I might be dumb, and somebody just redeemed, you are. I'm like, oh. We all be one. Smooch. Welcome to the smooch cage. No, chat, you're only allowed to smooch in the cave. There's a cave beneath the basement, but I'm not letting you all get into the cave beneath the basement, because I don't want you all smooching. I blame Dar for this.
What the hell did I do?
Exist.
Shit, you right. That's my bad.
Sheesh. What's this?
If I could have changed that, I would have.
There's 2 5s next to each other over here.
Oh, I'm coming to you. We're doing those. That sounds back-to-back 5 stars. Sound fun.
I'm trying to find fuel.
Well, here's the thing. If I come to you, I have 3,000 fuel.
I mean, if I knew that, I wanna.
I told you this like ages ago that I got a lot of fuel because I bought it from a stole clerk.
Yeah. If you came to me, then there some things would change, right? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Thank you. Stretch. Oh, hi, princess.
It's Stretch.
Shovel. Why are you just yelling shovel? Mom. Me when I be shoveling. Me when I be me one chat, me one. When is it me? Me one.
I am a nut and I'm digging a hole.
Thank you for the bits. Oh, dig. I've had steroids this entire time. It was just in a different stack.
Gene.
No one ever accused me of being smart.
You know, that's fair. I won't hold that against you.
Hold these nuts. Anyways. All right, so you're coming to me?
I'm currently coming to you right now.
Cool. You're sorry you're a bit late? Not forgiven. Sorry. No, you're fine.
How dare you?
I want to bleed. We call it the cave of forbidden for smooches. I have a floof to take care of? Fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. Also, but still, how dare you? Not forgiven. You are forgiven, but also no. Get wrecked, nerd.
But also no.
You can't stop me. Why do you keep saying dig? Thank you for the bits. Thank you. Are you trying to get to the smooch cave? Is that what's happening?
Oh, they might be trying to get to the smooch cave.
We are avoiding and we're digging. Chat, I'm not gonna let you know where the smooch cave is. It's only like
not searching for it.
there's a specific corner that you have to dig in. It's not even a corner, but it could be. What if it wasn't? But it is. But it's not though.
Just ignore the big red X, chat.
Yeah, ignore the big red X that points. Hey, what the heck? Thank you for the subs. What the heck, princess? Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. Now I gotta kill all the snakes you spawned. I feel a little guilty killing the snakes that you just gave me.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. They gave you that as a gift, and you're murdering it in front of them.
I give you the gift of death. Thank you, though. Thank you so much for the bits, and thank you so much for the subs. I really do appreciate it. Oh. Alright, we're still waiting for Dar.
I'm coming.
I'll give you repair kits.
I'm on my way. You got a spot to deal with.
They're keeping me busy. All the snakes are dead. Stop digging!
Oh. I just ran over a chicken.
Oh. Is that
Didn't
chat?
even know it.
Chat, were you a chicken?
Whoever was a chicken, my bad. I hope the tire didn't hurt too much.
Chat, which one of you is a chicken?
Dig, die.
Dag? Thank you for the, what the heck? Thank you. I really do appreciate all your subs. Today's a good day. Today's a good day.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy today.
Hey, chat, you know, if anyone else joins in on the gifting too, you guys will trigger hype trains, and you know hype trains trigger more things spawning on Gene. Just saying.
Oh, crap, zombie.
Nudge, nudge.
Don't eat my snakes. Hey, for the bits! Thank you. Thank you. I'm so cold. It is so cold here. What if it snowed? I don't want to look outside. If it snowed, I'm gonna cry. Ladies, what the heck? Thank you. Did you just get paid, Princess? Is that what happened? Is there not a hype train yet?
It's because only one person's doing it. If someone else, I think one or two other people gift a sub or sub, it'll trigger the hype train.
Well, I appreciate it. It's in the 20s in Colorado. I don't want to go. It's so cold. Wait, what if I gift a sub?
You don't count as it's the streamer.
Ah, it's lame. Kindness deserves kindness.
what?
Aw.
Hype trains are fun.
You're fun, nerd. Dar, what the heck? Thank you. There's more snake.
That should have triggered the hype train, right? If it did, I'm gonna cry. I did it just for the hype train. I wanted the hype train emotes. Do we need one more person?
Oh no.
We need one more person. Chat, join me. I want the hype train emotes.
Baddies!
Chat, someone sub. Get the hype train. Chat, I need it. I want my emote.
They're broke. It's okay. It's okay to be broke. I still love you anyways.
Someone sub.
Shadowbringers. I need to play Final Fantasy eventually. It's a really good game.
Yeah, it is.
I got evil motorcycle.
Chat slowed me on getting to you, so give me a moment.
Imagine if I just blew up your motorcycle right now. Hello, Skitter. You got 2 cents. Why are you all so broke? I am worried about you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Man, that was like my last $20. I got you though. I wanted the hype train so bad. I'm really sad that the hype train did not trigger.
Here's a forge book. Here's 2 repair kits.
Give me one moment. I'm putting shit inside my vehicle.
Let me give you a vehicle book. Hey, Sinful! Thank you for the bit. Thank you for the sub. Thank you. Carmia, get yourself Carmia. Thank you, Carmia. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate it though. I do. There's so many snakes. So many snakes. Oh god, there's so many snakes. There's so many snakes. Carmia, thank you.
Is my shit bugging out? How's there still not a hype train?
They've just decided I don't deserve hype trains anymore.
Actually though, how's there still not a hype train? That's what, 5 different people?
I've had people gift 1 sub and a hype train activates.
Yeah,
But it's
usually
like,
you require
no.
like 2 or 3 events in a short period of time, and there's been a lot of that.
Might need to adjust the settings. I did adjust the settings. It should be like at most 5 subs should trigger a hype train. Unless it turned back on the stupid thing where it's like, we decide what is good for a hype train. And you know what? No, stop it. You don't have to give me any hype. Thank you though. Y'all, I do appreciate you. I hope you know that.
Fuck's the hype train not triggered yet? Twitch, I'm coming to you. I'm fine where you live.
I don't think there was a hype train today.
No, there definitely has not been a hype train today, I don't think.
Game just hates me. I feel like Indiana Jones. Where's the bird?
Oh yeah, hey. What? Where are you? Where's he going?
The heck? All right,
real quick. Hey, here. Yours and yours.
what's behind you? Thank you. You happy to be number 3? I'm happy to have you as number 3.
I got it. I'm going in.
Did you repair your bike?
Oh, it's a wait. Yeah, I did.
Oh,
It's
here's-
another. It's a what's up?
Vehicle book.
Ooh.
Also, we're gonna go somewhere else. Come with me.
Oh, okay.
No hype train, because you banned
Where the
smooching.
fuck's my bike at?
I'm sorry I banned smooching, okay? I didn't think about it. Do not wait, do not cross across this thing. Like go around.
Why not?
There's mines.
Oh wait.
Thank you. Thank you. What the hey? What the hey? Do I have any wood? I have an idea. More snakes! More snakes! Stop it! Stop it, snake! Thank you, Princess. I really do appreciate it. Enjoy your Genshin.
Snake.
I believe in you. For your birthday. Wait, is it your birthday?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear princess. Happy birthday to you. Also, feel free to come back in on your actual birthday, and I will sing you a better birthday song. There we go. right, here's what I'm gonna do.
What's up?
Don't break my crate.
You didn't see anything. Don't worry that it's a half HP.
You absolute dick. There we go. All right. Don't need the tool right now. I do need the repair kits. Hey, what the heck? Princess, you won!
Hey!
That means you get at least 1 month of VIP this time. Here you go. So welcome to a month of VIP. All right, you ready?
Hey, what's up? I got rid of the mines, by the way.
I noticed. Now you look special. Hit points.
I really want to hit you with my hammer.
Don't hit me with your hammer. I will die. Taking steroids.
Alright. If I see another 10 gifted, I'm smacking you.
No! Thank you for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's go. I like this place better, and then we'll do the other one later.
Bet. I will say I am a man of my word, though.
No.
So just remember this. Oh, it goes
Nice.
down.
Oh, not this way yet. I did outlaw smooching, though. No! 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 Stay away from me, Dar! Stay away from me, Dar!
Come here, Jade.
No!
Come here, Jade.
No!
I said I would do it.
Ah, you're too fast!
Did I hit it? Wait, why am I so? How am I so much faster than you?
Oh no!
Did I not hit?
You can hit me again. Go for it.
All right, wait. Here, we'll do a real test. We'll see if you can survive a headshot from the hammer.
Why?
If there's any items you want to take to see if it helps you, feel free to. I need
Nope.
to take some.
Let's just go for it.
All right. Oh, they gave you shield. Okay, you should live this. All right, you have shield. You ready?
Let's do it. Yep. Oh! I heard the crunch. I heard the crunch.
Got the crunch from killing you. I didn't think I'd kill you through a shield. I'm gonna be real.
Oh,
Or that was mean. Listen, I am a man of my word. I said if I saw another 10 gifted, I was gonna smack him. I am not someone that goes against what I say.
You knocked the clothes off my body.
If I say something, I'm gonna do it. I ain't no lie.
I said I was, and I did.
Do I need to be using a shotgun on snakes? Probably not.
No.
But hey,
They're hard to hit sometimes.
you're right. Let's actually do the area down.
This way.
I won't make no bet.
Oh, not this way. This way.
Oh wait, no, it is this way. This way, right in here, right here.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think I can just go around. There's a snake down here? Oh, snake.
Oh. Did I tell you, I love this hammer.
I know you do. I see you throwing them.
It's
Thank you,
so fun.
Princess. Thank you. Thank you. Princess is just playing slots. You know what? How about this, Princess? If you do win another, like slot, I will give you permanent VIP.
Oh shit!
I'm not saying that you should keep playing it. I'm just saying if you do win it again while having it, I'll definitely give it to you. Thank you for the follow.
Fucking bet. You know they're not gonna give up now. Now they gotta get that. Who?
Oh, darn. This way, by the way.
Someone made it so I can't use my hammer. I'm very unhappy right now.
That's kind of funny to me. Oh, if you watch it, you almost won. Oh, Jesus.
But I just realized it's also bad anytime they do stuff they're spawning shit in. This is gonna be a lot of shit we gotta deal with.
Ah! So close.
Bro, I heard that dog's bones crunch.
Not bad. What's going on with this dog here? What's going on with this dog? Where's he going?
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
Princess. Wait. See, this one does it. Princess, you've given me so much today. You don't have to bet anymore. I hope you know I will give you permanent VIP. I appreciate you so very much. I don't want you to have to give up all that and immediately be like, because I don't know what the chances are of winning right now. I will give you permanent VIP. Dar, where'd you go? Oh, it's upstairs.
Yeah, it's upstairs. There's a window right here you can jump through.
Oh, she was going very well, Anna. How you doing? Thank you. Stop giving. No, what? It's okay. I appreciate it, though. You still want to win? Fair. Princess is just playing slots now. All right, Dar, do not turn around, okay? Dar!
You do not tell me what to do.
I'm trying to shoot the door. Oh, it's not there.
Bro, do you know how bad I just want to jump right now? Like, every fiber of my body, I just want to jump in the big hole. I want to go in the hole, Gene.
Oh, Clover Pit is such a good game. Princess, get Clover Pit. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Hell yeah.
Dar, jump.
All right, Gene. You got your jump.
Oh,
I
no.
made the jump harder for you.
Thank you. Thank you for all the bits, though. Oh, down here.
There's a spot out here to
so
go.
very much. Clover Pits is good. You want a place in my heart. That's what you unlock. Oh, jeez. We have jump. You could have jumped down all the way to the bottom. A box.
Wee. What the oh, it's a fucking dome. Let's go. It's a fight pit.
I love this.
Motherfuckers, I ain't locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
I heard bones crack right next to me. That was terrifying. Why am I vibrating?
Why are you vibrating? What?
Hey! Princess! Permanent VIP. Permanent VIP forever. Forever and ever. You never have to come back to stream and you will still have permanent VIP. And you won again?
Bro, they're just winning back to back to back. They on a hot streak.
That's insane. Oh, I heard that. I think it's so funny that they... Princess, what are you trying? You ain't gonna win again like that quickly. Ain't no way.
Bro, I'm so happy I decided to use the hammer. This has been so fucking fun.
How about this? Princess? I'll let you. We'll give you the opportunity to come with one redeem.
Ooh.
As you did have that many wins. I feel like if you'd like to have a redeem something. Let me know if you can think of something. Can we have maid dress? Wait, do you want... I could just put on the maid dress if that is what you want. I appreciate the money. I do. Don't get me wrong. I really appreciate it all. But also, I want to give back. Go big or go home.
Boy.
You have to go big or go home.
A question. Am I crazy, or does this feel like I'm gonna have a whole bunch of fuckers spawn on me?
Nah.
Yeah, I'm probably safe. I actually was safe.
Let me do Southern accent.
Okay.
You know what? I'll do the Southern accent for a while. I got this. Oh, wait a second. I hear something.
Oh, that's a little guy up here. He's going crazy.
Nah, I got this, baby girl. I'm gonna stay like this for a good long while. Where is Dodge? I think we lost Dodge. Also, Dodge completely bypassed this box. But Dodge jumped on the box to climb the stairs. I did not open the box.
I said fuck that box. All right, listen. I heard something I could smack with my hammer. I got excited.
I know you did. It's all right, sweetie. Bro, you could have had a Southern maid. I mean, hey, you want me to be a Southern maid? I'll be a Southern maid.
Oh, look at you.
They explode when we kill them.
All right, yo. They explode when we kill them. Oh, yeah. Here it comes. You got this, I believe in you.
Where are they at? Come here, boys.
We got this one. Who's this man? I'm me. I'm Gene. I am a... Yeah, thank you for the biddies. Thank you.
Oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is interesting.
It's all right, dog. I believe in you. I believe in you, dog. You can do it. I believe in you. Thank you. Now they're empty. Thank you. Thank you. So I can't focus on the dungeon with this man in my ears. I mean, hey, what you need to focus on? I've given Princess a gambling addiction. It's horrible. I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to deal with it, sweetie. Yeah. That's my goal, to be sexy and horrible, chat. That's been my life goal.
Man, we found the drug farm.
What, found drugs? Oh, do you want a shotgun book?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't mind.
Here you go. Here's a shotgun book. Enjoy your shotgun book.
Yippee. I'm 75 out of 100.
Nice. Step away from the beds. Step away from the beds, princess.
Come on up.
Oh, I think it's funny that audio for that cracking bones is like not synced properly, so I hear it like it's next to me every time.
That is fucking hilarious.
I'm just like, I'll be like a mile away from me, suddenly I hear a bone crack. I'm like, oh, I hit something. Oh, well, this is going bad. 1 second.
This is too much for this.
I gotta reload. There we go. Oh, that was close, baby girl. That was close. Nap loves the Southern, doesn't Nap?
Gotta switch off my shit.
Hey, thank you for the resub. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Welcome. I gotta turn that notification up louder. Did you do it? I love her. If you'd like to make me smile, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you, princess. Thank you. What's up? Why you got that bug-eyed look? You look like a frog, man.
So, yeah, when you hit shit with a hammer, you don't. I've seen some things.
Sounds like your father. Man, your father's got a nice voice, huh? Your dog's got that 1,000-yard stare. Wait, yeah, dog, come here. Come on, look at me in the eyes. Man has seen too much.
What's that? Yes.
All right, sweetie. I do really, really appreciate it. Every little bit goes back into, you know, helping me out and making the stream better. It's gonna be great. Yeah, no, I think Twitch disabled hype trains for me.
Why? Yeah, I want to know why the fuck you knocked on a hype train. It was crazy.
I do need to check. I honestly think some people sub when I'm not live. Because I've seen a few times when I look at my stream and suddenly, hey, thank you for the follow, Caitlin Trump. Welcome. Your name sounds really familiar. Oh, but it's K, not a C. Never mind.
Do you have the hype train on like a super long cooldown?
No.
I was shooting the zombies trying to help you out. I did not expect for you to run backwards right into my crossfire.
Shark fin soup, anybody? Shark fin soup? We got this. We're gonna make some shark fin soup, chat. Honestly, I've heard it's awful and that it's not even worth having, but you know what? I think we can make an exception. What do you think? Should we see if we can cook up a little daw here?
Oh shit.
You know what I should have done? I should put a pistol on my back. That way, whenever I like die, I can grab a pistol from my bike and make it in.
That is actually a smart idea.
Right? If I had gas.
I didn't expect you to run backwards to the right.
Of what we can eat the rest of the shark too. I mean, honestly, I don't know how much of a shark is actually edible, but you know. Sayori. Sayori. Your name looks familiar. I'm getting chased. Help!
Wait.
I have an idea.
You're right below me.
I have an idea.
What if I break the floor here and you like come up?
No, I have a better idea. Yes, but also different. Give me a second.
All right.
No, what was this? Not an attack! No!
Oh, that is the worst thing for you right now.
Alright.
You got this, Sheen. I believe in you.
Yeah, no weapons. It's fine.
Surprised we haven't locked any shortcuts. That would have been nice. Alright, as soon as I said that, I found a button. Oh, that's not the one I wanted to see inside there.
Alright, I'm coming. I don't like the rules. What rules? What, that smooching is illegal? Smooching is illegal, I'm sorry. I forbade smooching. Alright, Dar, where were you that you were right below me?
Just like right over here somewhere. Yeah, look, if you look up, I'm right above you.
Oh, jeez. No, smooching's illegal, chat. It's a crime. Can anybody redeem jump for me, please?
Oh yeah, you're in this room. The door's locked.
Yeah, got it. Wait. Thank you. Which way? Which way is it? Not that way. I got this. You want a hug? I'll give you a hug. I can give people hugs. Hugs are legal. Smooches are illegal, though. Smooches are definitely illegal. The crimes.
By the way, where you are at, where all the zombies are, I'm currently opening a hole.
I'm almost to you, I think.
Oh, my point still stands.
I made it to you. Yeah, me too. All right, here we go. Where is it? There it is. Come on, drop it in the hole. Too bad. Too bad. You need to accept my rules. Homework, cleaning, no fighting. Also, you need a hobby. Everybody needs a hobby. I need something to brag about to the other streamers.
What if their hobby's smooching, though?
No, smooching cannot be the hobby.
But you didn't. Now you're changing.
Yeah, they're
You
my
said they need a
rules.
hobby, but then you're changing up, like.
Okay, let's see where Dark killed me.
Hey, welcome back, welcome back.
Where's my body?
It's like somewhere over here.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I can't believe that happened. That's crazy.
Honestly.
Painting is a great hobby, honestly. Especially if you like Bob Ross painting.
You wanna know the best part about it?
What's up?
Come here.
Is this the exit?
Come here.
Gang, it was nice to be here. It was a great
gang.
first stream
What's
with
up?
you guys. I'll catch you
So
later.
we move up here.
Bye.
This is the end.
Killing you, Dark.
Bad deal.
Bye-bye. You be good. I'll unlock these boxes if you want to open them.
Oh, Brad, I'm just taking a couple things out of this thing. I need first aid kits.
I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. Diggy,
Diggy,
diggy, hole. Diggy, diggy, hole. I am... Chat, sing with me. You ready? I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. Diggy, diggy, hole. Diggy, diggy, hole. No? Okay. Father Redeem? Stretch? I'm thinking for the check-it, Mousy. Look, a mousy mouse. Not mousy monkey. There we go.
I have successfully opened up every little thing here. You want to take a little peek?
There's a weapon bags here that you didn't touch. And a weapon.
Shit.
I am
now I
a
touched
fledgling of day. Me when I touched I've touched everything.
Hey. Yo.
Retracting stockman. I did need that stretch. I actually felt that one. My bones popped. I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. Diggy, diggy, hole. Diggy, diggy, hole.
Fucking bird just broke my arm. What the
Me
fuck?
when the bird breaks my arm. That's my favorite bit. Me when this thing that happens.
You want to know what I'm curious on?
What?
If you take fort bites and chat gives you shield, do you think you would survive a headshot with my hammer?
I don't think I want to try. Why must you hit me and see how much I can take?
Yeah, I'm just curious, you know?
I just want to see how pretty you are when you die. Jeez. Monkey Bow, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining, and thank you for the hydrates, and thank you for everything. Y'all are great. I hope you know that. I appreciate you. Ooh, boxes! Woo! Books. Oh, you did! I haven't gotten to check them out yet. I do want to check them out, though. Hey, can you actually post their link here again? Like, would you post their name here for me so I can look at them? I want to see them. I want to see them. This is. I'm allowing this link if any links are posted, or you can just post their name, and I'm allowing that too. Ricky Poppet, thank you. The concept sounded really interesting. My face feels dry. I want some lotion. Like that's because I live in Colorado and it's cold.
Oh, skin.
Oh, they look cool. What the heck? They look cool. Not fair. Ban them. No.
Ban them.
How dare they look better than I do? How dare they look cool and awesome? Ban them. Imagine living in a dry. Well, you know what? You be dry. Chat. I have something to show you. Give me a second. I need to give me like a good couple minutes. Oh, Jesus, hi Dar. Okay. Chat, I gotta pull something up. Bye. Okay. Egg. Egg, PNG egg. That's what I'm looking at. Egg VTuber? There's an egg VTuber? There is. Okay, well. This is very important. I gotta find this. Give me a second. Gonna take me a little while, but we'll get there. Okay, I have to verify I'm human. Give me a second. This is important. B, D, Y, 6. Am I human enough? Yes. Okay. Chat, I need you to do something. Can you read something for me? Can you read something for me, chat? This is very important. Can you read this? Can you tell me what that says? Chat, can you read this for me? What's it say? No. Sorry. This part. Just this part. You read that?
Ibuprofen?
Haha, ibuprofen? Dar, ibuprofen? Do you ibuprofen, Dar? Do you ibuprofen? Ibuprofen all night? What the heck? 25 subs? What the heck? Thank you! Ibuprofen all night, huh, Dar? Thank you!
Yeah, I do.
What the heck? Thank you, princess! Ah!
Don't know hype train. I'm fighting Twitch.
Yeah, I think I've been banned from having hype trains. Princess got paid this month. Princess got paid this month. You know what? I gotta look into my hype train settings real quick. There has to be something going on here.
It's gotta be at this point.
There ain't no way. Twitch is like, this ain't hype. This ain't hype. No, you ain't hype. You ain't hype. All right. Give me a second. Let's do hype train settings. No, I've definitely had a hype train before. Dashboard, monetization. Community. Hype train. No, it's every 2 hours, which we haven't had a hype train today. And I have it set to you get 10 support events. Not 10 support events. I have it set to... There you go. Here, we'll let the autopilot thing. Yeah, I've been live for 2 hours, so like it should have been something by now. It just hates me. It just hates me is what it is. Maybe Twitch just disabled my abilities. Alright, we're gonna kill Dar. Can you imagine? No, put your hammer away! It's joking, I was joking! You got McDonald's? Oh, I really want McDonald's. My leg! My leg!
Actually, hey, you have a crate like right over there for motion, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. God, this is crazy though, princess. You're amazing. I do really want to zig. If you want to be my lover, you gotta get with my friends. We're into polyamory.
Else is crazy.
No! Get away from me! Oh, dance party. Dory, gotta run to the next place. Quickly, we need to experience the dance party.
Let's go. So you know what else is crazy I just noticed? How have we not gotten a single fucking horde vote?
I know we haven't. What is going on today? I'm being
Today is just
denied
a
everything
weird-ass
cool,
day.
but I'm getting cool subs. So you know, I'm happy. Ah!
Yeah,
Sorry.
That's pretty cool.
So are you in the building?
I'm in the building.
You know what? I'm gonna set super fast cooldowns. Give me a second.
Are you gonna just make it so they just remove cooldowns? They can just spam.
No cooldowns, chat.
Right.
You can do whatever you want. Go for it. No cooldowns. Just spawn anything.
We gotta get outside. He said go crazy. Hey, also, just to let you know, because there is fun, you can also use the biddies to do crazy shit with the spawn shit. Like, for example, you can spawn group of enemies on G.
Yeah. If you use the overlay, you can spawn more stuff. Dog. Bleeding.
Wow.
Chat, I dropped my nade. Oh, that was gnarly.
Bro, I broke that fucker's leg off. Hey, can you like throw another one? Open the door for me.
Yeah. Let me find my dynamite. Dynamite. You ready?
Yeah.
Thank you for the bits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Watch out!
I think I care about a little bit of explosion. Boom.
I think it's time. You want to just rush the end of this one?
Fuck it, let's run. Wait, we know where it's at. Wait,
Yeah,
if
let's
chat
go.
gives us jump, isn't it right down in the center?
Yeah, just go down. We're fine.
Yeah, fuck it, we don't need jump. We'll just go down normal.
Thank you for the biddies, princess.
Wait, no, this one is a little different.
Oh.
No, fuck it, we'll still go to the bottom. Who cares?
Yeah.
Hey, Gene. Do you
Yeah?
see this zombie over here? That's just broken through the ground?
Uh-oh.
Please tell me that's on your screen.
Oh, wait, they're coming.
Oh, they do be coming.
Ibuprofen? Ibuprofen until UV. So what is this one? I'm bleeding! No! Did we have a regen? Any chance? Do we have a regen? No! Regen, please! Death! No!
I'm in the Thunderdome still. Hey, you wanna know the best part? You have no cooldowns on. They can do shit instantly. Still.
Oh, yeah. Y'all can keep going.
Oh, why'd you make them tiny? That makes it harder for me.
They spawned me into the. I guess. They're sending zombies after. I need weapons. Give me a jump. Let me jump. Help! Mokibo, I like your name. I like it's aesthetically pleasing. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but Mokibo? Is it Mokibo or Mokibo? Don't.
I want you to know I've gained about 25,000 XP from just smacking shit with my hammer constantly right now.
Mokibo.
Free with this fucking hammer.
I like your name. Your name is very aesthetically pleasing. My legs are broken. Got them aesthetics.
Oh, that's what's going on. Oh, that's so fucking cool, though.
What?
The more we kill, gates are opening, spawning more in. It's like actually a fucking arena.
That is cool. That must have been what happened that one time where we kept thinking we kept defeating all of them, and they just kept coming more.
Yeah.
The cooties with Elijah Wood.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I like tiny body, big head.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Watch out. Got him. My leg is broken.
Why, you silly people?
Sorry, ibuprofen. Ah. Look at those little squeals. My leg. What the heck is that?
What?
Where's my steroids? There they are. Sayori, I got you. Come here, Sayori. Gonna shoot your leg off. No legs. No legs. Eh. You're only 5'2". Is that legal? Aww. I'm sorry, I shot your leg, Sayori. This immediate scream. Imagine if emotes made sounds.
I didn't agree to this. I didn't agree to this. Hi, game. How you doing? I found a lot more zombies.
Good thing I'm 5'7". See, that's legal. You're allowed to be 5'7".
People are less than 6 foot.
Honestly, being below 6 foot, I'm not sure you can really call those. No, I'm gonna stop there.
God damn it.
What do I? Oh, it's you cracking people. I keep hearing cracking noises. I'm like, are my legs broken? Yeah, I can't see short people. That's why I don't believe in them.
I love that you're able to hear when I kill things.
Oh, and it's funny.
That's the funniest shit to me.
As long as I can slightly hear you, the cracking is like I'm next to you. The cracking is like I'm doing the cracking.
So you're just constantly hearing cracking right now.
Well, no, I hear you from a distance going, yeah, and then I hear. I am the Colossal Titan. It's me, Armin.
Lift malfunction detected. Lift functioning at 0%.
What?
I have no idea what that just said to me.
Lift function. Are you inside?
I went inside a room and now shit's going on and I don't know how I got in here and I don't know how to get out and I'm scared. I went in one of the tunnels and it's been spawning zombies on me constantly right now.
I'm coming for you.
Spooky.
This is the dead end.
There's a tunnel with a fire in it. There's a route to get to where I'm at.
Let's see if we can find Dar, chat. Chat, if I was Dar, where would I be? Yeah, you all get taken to the North Pole for Santa every year. I should have known. I knew it, chat. I always knew you all were dwarves. I mean, elves.
Aren't you making here? Hey, how you doing?
You know what I just need to do? I need to get a small bottle of ibuprofen to put on the screen at all times. And just so I can have somebody come back, why is there a bottle of ibuprofen? Ibuprofen? Ibuprofen all night long, huh?
Who are you? What are you, sir? What are you, sir?
Oh, I bought one of those earlier. They're weird.
Yeah, I expected him to actually do something, not just fall over dead.
They give you a weird red bag. Stop sniffing me. What the heck?
Oh, that's why it's been constantly spawning stuff in.
Why?
This is the root room.
The what room?
The loot room.
Oh,
that makes sense now. Alright, you have fun with the zombies. I'm gonna unlock this.
I got you, baby. I have an idea.
Hey, Gene, I got you an auto turret bundle.
Oh, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Dar and
just taking
Gene.
the ammo out of-
Dar and Gene confirmed? What do you mean? Well, yes, we both exist. We do. Do you mean Dar X Gene? Wait, what's this? Supply vote? Heck yeah.
Weapons, books, or ammo. That sounds pretty cool.
Ah! Great. Let me open all the other boxes.
In the true arena fashion, Gene, there's only one thing left to do.
And what would that be, Dar?
Kill the bird, because fuck birds.
That's fair. Ooh, supplies!
Alright, purple ones are mine.
Yeah, I can get it.
I just got more shotgun ammo. Hey, you want to be a miner?
Never in my entire life. Why?
Because I have a miner helmet and gloves. I was like, I can give you.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, just thought I'd check.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, chat. He said weirder things to me before.
I say a lot of weird things if we're being honest.
Then he kissed me. What?
Huh?
Huh? Nothing. What? Dark kiss? No. Who'd want that? That's
Hey, yo.
all around me are.
Voices.
Kissing's like gross, right? Yes. Anyways,
And you didn't film? Who said we didn't?
that's on the other site. I love hearing this, the cracking.
Dude, it's probably the main reason I love using the hammer. It's so satisfying.
Ooh, okay, we're gonna take the auto turret bundle. We're gonna use this. Bunker Buster mod. Can I put that on the thing?
But we can't.
Well, look. I am the adult here. I'm probably not the oldest one, but like, I know I'm not the oldest one. Rack attack, raccoons.
Unc Gene!
No.
Unc Gene!
No!
What are you doing?
I'm not chopped and also Unc.
Also, that elevator thing about the lift, that was here. I don't know where this leads to, but it goes up.
Rope.
Dar, you're older. Shh.
Finding out that you're Unc and also chopped.
You don't gotta call me out like that, Nap. That's kind of fucked up.
My aim is amazing. Na 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 na. I have such cool viewers though. We did it.
There's still so many fuckers coming at me.
I mean, I don't consider you old if your year begins with 19. I consider you old if your year begins with 18.
I mean, I don't think there's many people with
There
years that
isn't.
belong. I was say.
I don't think there's any.
Well, yeah, that'd be what, 125 minimum right now?
Yep. Chat, if you're not 125 minimum, you're young. This one has been cool.
Yeah, I like this one.
Especially like, cause now we're being like chased out.
I'm gonna say I am kind of a bit of a fan of this one.
Apparently they've just been coming down these stairs.
I remember VHS was the best thing, bro. I remember recording so many of my shows with VHSs.
Y'all, if y'all know,
I didn't like to so I could record over the other VHSs.
the worst part is finding a tape that somebody else has recorded over, and you're like, I wanted to watch that.
Yeah. All right, okay, we're gonna play a game, okay?
Recording over your first birthday. Because you wanted to record. Dude, I remember rewinding the stupid tapes. You know what? I don't, but mostly because I was ADD. So I knew people did rewind tapes. I didn't. Actually, I think I ruined one tape because I didn't realize you were supposed to not play it and rewind it. You were supposed to stop it and rewind it.
Are they just endlessly spawning?
Nah. Yeah. I didn't know a lot of things. But if y'all have ADHD, raise your hand right now. And if you raised your hand IRL, dork. Your mom watched soap.
Soap?
Soaps.
Soap.
Oh, I'll get this. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm getting rid of my minor boots.
You don't got any minor boots on anymore?
Nope. They're only major boots now.
Okay. All right,
I have the ranger boots because they're cowboy boots.
Dance for me.
Nah!
Dance,
Where you at?
homie.
Where you at?
Dance, Moby G, dance!
Ah! How much damage did that do?
You put 5 HP.
Ah! It's not just you who can hurt people. Imagine if I used my explosive arrow. Where are you? I have flaming arrows. Don't tempt me. You know what? It wasn't a age thing. It was just it was more of a which child did you like the least? Which one was the most compliant that would immediately obey you if you told them to go do it? There we go.
I think my infection might be a bit too high right now.
All right.
What would you say a normal infection rate is?
Under 10%.
I'm at 33. Is that considered normal?
No, you're gonna need quite a lot of stuff.
I ain't got nothing. That'll be fine, right?
And when we burned CDs, yeah? You like CDs? Did you like CDs? Chat. Had a whole stack of CDs, yeah? Stack of CDs nuts. Okay, let me just do some stuff here. Modify. Take that off. Scrap. Gene, I'm a I did think it was funny. I said you like CDs, and chat went quiet. And I'm like, oh no, they know. Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl who thinks that I am the one, but the kid is not my son.
Oh no, I hope your head feels better. Head hurting, no fun.
Oh, thank you, princess. Mwah. You be good, okay? Thank you for coming in, baby girl. I really do appreciate you. Do you need some antibiotics, Da?
What's that? Whoops. What does that do?
Cure infection.
Oh, I mean, I could. I'm at 33%. I got nothing for it.
I took painkillers. Never mind. Where did my... Oh, I think it's on my bike. Seriously, princess. Genuinely, I do really appreciate you. I have no things either. God, you know, if I was a woman, I would be pregnant all the time. Because I would not take my pills. I would not take anything. I would 100% be like, I would always forget and be like, did I take these? Probably. Oh, and I would not. I would be I would definitely be. I'd be banging. Sorry, I'm just thinking about it. Do you know that's technically a quote. Thank you for the follow, Void Whispers. Welcome, my new Voidling. Y'all ever see Top Gear? Y'all ever see Top Gear? I think it was Richard Hammond who was like, did I take my malaria pill today? You know, if I was a woman, I would be pregnant like all the time. Oh, they deafened. Where's my bike? Did you break my bike?
I have no idea where your bike is, actually.
Oh, it's over here. Yeah, I'm a sloot, but I'm a shut-in at the same time. Make that one make sense. Oh, I'm out of gas. I hate this game with Devin.
I gave you gas.
I know, I used it. I hate this game with Devin so much.
Oh yeah, Jane, you want to see something cool? Cause
Yes.
I just got an update on it. I'm gonna send it to you in DMs. You can
Hey,
look
don't
at it
move.
whenever.
Don't move.
I'm all tabbed out right now, so I can't even see what you're doing. What are you doing? Run back.
I'm honking.
Oh, I can't hear it because of death.
All right,
I
Dar,
can't
go.
hear
Go,
the
Dar.
honk.
Drive.
I
Drive
can't. I got giant. Let's go. We're going places.
Oh.
Man, that was sad.
Why'd you
Ow!
hit me?
I took damage for that.
Well, that's crazy. Anyways. Didn't care. Don't care, didn't I?
All right, come here.
No, stop, no! Y'all would be a riot playing Do you want to try Generation Zero, Dar?
The fuck is Generation Zero?
Giant robots. Game like this, but giant robots. You have to fight giant robots.
Okay, but can I get cool stuff?
Yes.
All right, you gotta sell me on that. What's the cool stuff I can have?
I think you have a rocket launcher.
I don't know. I'm not really big on rocket launchers, honestly.
It's 7 Days to Die thing, but it's made from Sweden. But in Sweden, okay. We need more. Whisper redhead. Whisper redhead.
Yeah.
What's a whisper?
You gotta sell me on the stuff I can use.
In 1980 Sweden. Okay, wait. What? I'm just gonna purr. Stop hurting me!
You motherfuckers! I want to use my bike.
Nah. Stop! I don't want to be deaf anymore. We need Mpreg. No, get away from me!
You almost walked right into that.
I found out it's better to run directly at you to avoid the swing than it is trying to avoid it.
Apparently.
Okay, we're gonna look at Generation Zero.
All right.
Cool weapon Generation Zero. Okay, let's see what we got. Whisper. Lord, I said, what does WSP mean? Okay, we have SMGs, we have revolvers, we have shotguns, we have rocket launchers, we have let's see if there's melee.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm more of a melee type of guy.
Sledgehammer.
Ooh,
There
such
is a
a-
shotgun with an axe on it. A baseball bat with a gun attached to it. What? What happened there? Looks like a halberd. Okay, and the weapons look really sick.
I mean, I'm always down to try out games. I've never been. If it's a survival game, I'll more than likely be down. I love survival games. It's my favorite genre.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get like a team. Father, what are you playing? I've never seen this game before. Oh, this is 7 Days to Die. You have 7 Days
Like,
to
I want
Die.
to play the fucking Forest at some point.
Do you want to
never
play
played
Forest?
that.
Have you played? How about we do? Do you want to do Forest 2? Number 2?
I've not played through either of them, so I don't even know anything about them too much. Every time I try, I've played with a person for one session, and then they don't want to play anymore. I'm like, oh, okay.
Chat, do you think we should start with Forest 1 or Forest 2? Dar, are you wanting to start with 1 over 2, or do you not care? Because I think 2 has a lot more stuff.
I mean, is there a story to the Forest? I am a story type of guy.
I guess kind of. Forest 4? We should start with 1? Okay, bet. Can we not be deaf? I want to honk Dar's horn a little bit.
Honking my horn. Oh shit. You got about
Poll?
5 more
Let's do poll.
seconds.
Yeah, we'll do a poll. And there is a story. We'll do. I say we try Generation 0. Do you own the Forest 1?
Here, let me pull up my Steam.
Dar, do you have Xbox Game Pass?
Nope.
Interesting.
I say fuck Xbox. I do own the original number 1 Forest.
Bet.
I did not
Oh, sorry, I
own
missed this one.
Generation 0.
I would buy you Generation 0. Hey, I would 100% gift you any game. I want you to play with me. To be like, 'cause, I mean, that's been always my expectation. Being like, if I want somebody to play a game with me, out of nowhere, be like, yeah, no, I'll get it for you. Oh no! There's nothing wrong with Xbox. I was asking about the Xbox Game Pass because I mean, I may. How dare you?
Whoever reversed me, the amount of unhappiness I have for you is high.
I like the Xbox Game Pass just because there's a lot of games on there that I want to play. Like when sometimes new games come out, they'll be on there. And for like $20 a month for having at least like one brand new game. You fucking sorry. Having one game that I would like to play, like, because if the game comes out at $60, but I'm paying $20 a month, and there's just one game on there a month, I'm technically saving money.
Are they upping it to like $50 or some shit like that?
Wait, what do you mean? Like, oh no, I'm not talking about like the Game Pass, like the live thing. I'm talking about the where it lets you download free games, not the one that you play on their thing.
That's what they're upping.
Are they?
Yeah, they're upping it like a good chunk. A lot of people are pissed because they're updating that one.
To be fair, it has been absurdly a good deal for a long time. To the point of like, there's so many games that come out brand new that they put on there. So yeah, like I was just saying, I was saving a chunk ton of money. I wish we had a boat. Ooh,
oh, that's cool.
got it. Never canceling my subscription. I think I was paying like $10 a month for a while.
I was gonna say you locked in forever now.
Yeah, I mean, if I just go off of what I make for the streaming, I'm willing to do that. I'm technically, God, you know, the more you stream, the more expensive streaming gets.
You're not fucking wrong on that one.
At this point, like, because I have to pay, what is that? I pay $300 a month for a manager.
I want to get a manager one day. That's a lot of money.
You can probably get like around 100 if you get like a lower manager with like who like gets like does more. But ideally, if this works out, I can hopefully get a really sick sponsor. You know what I'm gonna do soon? I'm going to be trying to make a post trying to get GamerSup's attention. Because that's the one sponsorship that I want. I want GamerSup's. I'm willing to like make Mice, I'm cool with whatever. I like Corsair a lot, but I'm fine with whatever. I'm willing to do everything. Keyboards, same thing. Headphones, I like my cute ones, but you know, it's whatever. Me. But like the one thing I'm like super on is gamer subs. That is the one energy supplement I will use. I don't like Advanced GG. They all feel like they're trying to cash in on like the gamer energy drink stuff. G Fuel, the mix was bad.
Either. Have you saw that they redid a new formula? I kind of want to see how the new formula is.
I do want to try it, but also they don't really seem very like creator focused like G Subs has always been.
Oh yeah, no, I out of all of those, that's like one of the only sponsorships I would ever want in life is G Subs. I don't really want any others.
Mm-hmm.
G Subs is fucking cool. I like G Subs.
I mean, just imagining me having my own flavor would be so cool.
Oh fuck yeah.
Hi, Keeper. Morning.
All right.
It's like a bunch of stupid little mosquitoes sliding around. Not really, and this is my stream always happens. Actually, I guess you haven't been here that long. My weekend streams on Sundays always start at 6, and we play games of the Dar.
That's me.
Yeah, that's Dar. By the way, go check out Dar. Hashtag Darboy. Go check out Darboy. That's his name on Twitch now. It's Darboy. We're changing it. Change your name. I hacked Dar's server, and it's now Darboy. Nice. I've never made it to the peak. Darboy. He's Dar. He's a boy. He's Darboy.
Anytime I'm hearing that, I'm just picturing Yu-Gi-Oh! Pegasus. Yu-Gi boy.
Darmy boy. Oh, hello there, Darmy boy. I don't know. Hello, Darmy boy. It's me, Millennium Pegasus. That's my name. Don't wear it out.
Damn it.
Darmy
Right,
boy.
where the fucking meds at? I need bro, how do we not have any big good meds in here? This is fucked up.
What do you mean? Oh, sponge me boy me sponge, Bob me spongy boy.
Hello, darling.
Hey, my
Why
robot
is
let
that
me
a
know
girl
that's not
now?
video pro- Wait, you can hear them now?
Yeah.
You can hear them now?
And why is it a girl now?
They always have been.
Oh. You know what I just got, Dar? You know what I just got
What?
this entire time you've been looking for?
Help me.
4 repair kits. Here you go. I'll split the stack with you. Like the entire time you've been like, God, I could use repair kits. I wish somebody sent me repair kits. You know what? Oh no, Snowborn! Oh no! I'm sorry to hear that. God, man, I wish I had some repair kits. Man, I wish I had repair kits. God, I wish I could so go for repair
hear
kits.
them now.
I heard them earlier and I was like, what the heck? Oh, in this bag is some meds for you.
Ooh.
Also, here's some more meds for you if you need more.
I'm good now.
Die! Sorry, it's aggressive.
I bring my drone into the corner.
Nerd boots are so stupid. I hate them. I hate them so much. It is long socks with Converse shoes and stilts.
Yeah.
Enforcer shoes are also socks with...
Gene absolutely bullying Daroard. Darboy.
Daroad. You're absolutely bullying Daroad. Darboy. Hello, Daroad. How you doing, Daroad? Me when I'm Daroad.
I am Daroad. People go room on me.
I am the way, Daroad.
I am the way. Do you know the way?
Do you know the way to Uganda? Chad, we're only doing old memes now. Do you know the way? Me and my girlfriend. Me and your girlfriend playing dress up at my house. She took the outfit I wanted, and now I turned her into a mouse. Ah!
Hit you with small hammer. Ah, you made me bleed. What the
fuck? I didn't.
I hit you with small hammer.
You scared me.
I got. Where'd you go? I got a big hammer.
Oh, did you spill the syrup or was it bad syrup?
I got big hammer, and then look, I got mini hammer.
I like your mini hammer.
I got mini hammer.
You look like Fix It Felix. Moldy syrup. Oh no, that is the worst. I've never had that happen.
Oh.
Daroard Sandstorm. Hey Dar, how's that song go? Do you know how the
melody?
Stop hitting me.
Does that actually hurt?
A little bit.
I'm dancing in here. Whatever you do, don't worry about what's going on inside.
I came in and saw it. Will we eat breakfast? I'm hungry. I clean my corner. You may have French toast. We'll make you French
Father.
toast.
When we will, we eat breakfast. I hunger. I cleaned my corner.
I think what can happen is that if you get if any moisture separates from the syrup, that can cause issue and that can mold. The syrup itself should not mold, but it can get mold on it.
I could have dropped my croissant.
I made myself a little
Stop
busy
it!
from that.
I could have dropped my croissant.
My croissant.
Croissant. Did I ever tell you about the time that I hired a guy to do I hired a man off of Fiverr to do a Carl Weezer impression and to play the entirety of Poppy's Playtime with me, and he had to do the Carl Weezer impression the entire time, and I never did anything with it. So technically, I hired a man to play as Carl Weezer so I could watch him play the first level of Poppy's Playtime.
And it was just for you, only for your entertainment.
The video is now gone. I have paid a man to do this.
That is amazing.
I have seen some of them, yes. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the menagerie, my new little voidling. Shorty, I know. Wait. Are these lookbooks? I'll stretch my. I don't have old man bones. My bones are young. I stole them from a child. They're too small for my body. I keep flopping. Fuck. Guess who brushed their teeth and washed their face? Guess who washed their teeth and brushed their face?
Yeah.
It was me. Felt like an idiot. Felt so stupid. Shorty, I know. Ooh. Why have I not been putting armor plates? You know what I need to do? Dar, you're on fire! Dar, you're on fire!
Oh my god.
Just hear roasting sounds. I see Dar just actively cooking himself on a fire. What the heck? What the heck? Why are the shark cooking themselves? Shorty, I know. It's not easy being green.
This wall's in my way, Gene. I'm opening it up. One
No!
sec.
How long have you been on this morning? So I'm just gonna get sturdy real quick. Just ignore the question. Just get sturdy.
Let's try
You
this
can't
wall.
see me. What are you doing?
Don't worry about it.
Yummy on gasolina. Raw mats. I just read raw meat. I thought he just had a box of raw meat for a second.
Alright, just come to the front of the shop.
Bullets. Okay.
How are you?
Where are you?
I saw you. Come
What?
back in. Come back. Come back. Ah.
I'm so
you
tempted.
doing?
I'm so tempted.
Listen,
Run!
I just opened
Run!
my bathroom. Now where am I going? Shit. Hey, luckily for me, wait, hold up, wait. Wait, no, you blew up both of them. You blew both of them. So now we're good.
A long ass fucking time ago in a town called Kickapoo. He knew just what to do. Anyways, sorry, I got swear. Thank you for the bits. Dar, you shit outside like a civilized person. Sorry, I gotta stop swearing. I'm trying to cut back on swearing. Long time ago in a town called Kickapoo, there lived a young man and he knew just what to do. Yeah, I gotta look at the lyrics.
You don't know that. I know the lyrics of that song.
I know the Wonder Boy, what is the secret of your power? Wonder Boy, won't you take me far away from the mucky muck now?
I fucking love Kickapoo.
Now when he poops in the woods. I like going to Kickapoo. I'm too sexy for my love. Too sexy for my...
Oh, look at you.
My senses have picked up something.
Oh, hey, my robot let me know there's people coming.
I'm too sexy for my love. Too sexy for my love. Love's going to leave. Do 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 do. Bing 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 bing. We got the stupid one. We got the dumb one. Also, I'm leaving. There's mushrooms in there if you want them. I'm too sexy for my love. Too sexy for my love. Love's going to leave. I'm too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy it hurts. I'm a model, you know what I mean, and I do my little turn on the catwalk. Anyways.
We're gonna be on day 20. I think that's when they unlock more shit.
I'm so out of it. I think I just had a manic episode that just kicked in.
You know, we're just here having a time.
Homie, we about to go manic. You ready? Manic activated.
Oh, Gene, I got something cool.
Feet
What do
pics?
I got?
No! Ah! I can't run! I am not my steroids! Hey, Gadar. No! We can't play dynamite tag! And everyone loses a dynamite tag! I'm out of dynamite!
Dynamite tag!
Oh!
Oh, dynamite.
Oh, thank God.
Side of our house might be a little fucked. Gene, come back!
I can't! I'm stuck in a pit and there's spikes. Thank you.
Dynamite might have done a little damage over here, Gene.
I'm sure it's fine. What do we mean? Where's the damage? Where's this damage?
Yeah, you can fix it with with the ground blocks.
Where? Oh. I gotta turn off borders so I can see it better.
have done a little bit of damage.
Me and Dar should never be allowed actual dynamite. Huh.
A little damage, honestly.
You know, I'm sure it's fine. Hey, Dar. Catch.
Oh.
It didn't work.
I really didn't do much.
Yes, this is a grenade. Where'd the grenade go?
Wait,
Where'd it go?
Wait, hold up. Wait, I just lost.
No, there better not be more dynamite in there. Gene, do you ever play modded Minecraft? I've recently started, actually, and I recently tried to play modded Minecraft, and I realized I did it so poorly. I'm a gas can. Oh, you're the one who has to make the gas.
Do I have to make gas?
Yeah, because you have all the vehicle stuff. Should have just given me all the building books. That way I would just be the one building all the time.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Anyways.
Alright, well, if you ever want to make gas, I'm gonna put it into the, I'm putting oil shale in the thing. I have a modded Minecraft server I can share with you. It has 2 other VTubers on. Oh, that's sick. That'd be fun. Fine. Let me go load you up.
Yeah, load me up. Come on.
Let me load you up, Dar. There you go. How do I make bullets? I think I need brass. Where's my brass? Girl.
Gas is being made.
Thinking of me now. Now. You really got me.
Just curious. Oh, that's your
No.
bike.
Ah!
I threw it in the air once I noticed your
Have a
bike
grenade,
was there.
Dar.
I got more dynamite, bitch. Catch. Oh, hey, our robot.
That's
He
fine.
just fell. Like, he's okay.
Hey, Dar, guess what?
Hmm?
I found dynamite. Hey, Dar, come here. Dar. Double nade. Do you have any? Wait, do I have explosive arrows? I have explosive arrows.
No, that's cheating. Explosive arrows are cheating.
I swear you do discourage me.
Explosive arrows are cheating.
I won't shoot you with the explosive arrows. Was that an aid?
I got nades now.
Yeah. I'm out. How many do you have?
I got 7 more.
No!
Come here, Gene.
I refuse. You can't stop me. Oh, it's just, wait.
Wait, what if I hold it instead next to you?
No, don't sit next to me. I don't want to die. Ah, mystery supplies.
Ooh, mystery supplies.
We're both like. I got you. I'm gonna stop the zombies from killing you. I got you, Zar. I'm helping. I'm out
a grenade. That was fun.
Oh, that's only medicine. Zombie.
Got
Hey,
him.
check. I look away for a minute.
I look away for a minute and you just start playing grade tag.
Great. Hey, chat. Do you wanna What's that? I'll leave it in the follow. Do you wanna maybe give us an explosive crate? Hey, chat, you wanna give us an explosive crate?
Wait, there's no cooldowns. Can they just spam explosive crates?
Give me some explosive crates. Stop spawning vultures! Please. We're not allowed to do it though, Tom. If chat wants us to fight.
It won't let me. Oh wait, do we need to be inside the base safe spot for them to spawn shit in? Let's go in here and see if they can spawn a whole bunch of explosives.
Oh, it took away the explosives.
Can they if we're inside?
Oh, did the cooldown thing disable? No, there's no cooldown.
Bullshit!
Oh, we're turning off spam delay. No spam delay.
Yes!
Explosions make much easier.
Explosions make things so much easier. Nikolai
I have an
Lewinsky.
idea. I have an idea.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm here.
Wait. I have gunpowder. Oh, I have gunpowder. How do we make dynamite? Oh, I need explosive books. How many explosive books do you have?
Let's see. Explosives?
Yeah.
14.
You can make dynamite. Okay, come over to the thing. Come over here. Just tell me what you need for it. You give Gene explosives. You give me explosives.
Alright, we need for Dunamonte, we need a lot of plant fiber, gunpowder, duct tape, and paper.
Okay, give me a bit. Give me a bit, and I will... Okay, we need paper, we need duct tape. Are we crazy?
Wait, I have a better idea. You're wanting to have an explosive war, right?
Yes.
Let's just make explosive arrows. And then both use bows.
I mean... Ah, great! Oh, it doesn't have what we need. It's just so stupid. You know what? Maybe this isn't the best idea. Let's wait until the timer runs up and we can go to the store and see if we can buy some stuff. Ooh. Oh, repair kits.
Where are the explosive arrows when we need them?
Okay. Oh, my brain. My head is... I'm lightheaded. I'm a little lightheaded right now. Shorty, I know. I'm too sexy for my love. Too sexy for my love. Love's going to leave. What time is it? Oh, it's almost been 3 hours. Okay, we might be coming up on the end of stream here. We can always get explosives together next time.
Over here. I found more dynamite.
Of course you did. Of course
I found
you
more
did.
dynamite.
Wait, how much?
I found more dynamite.
Yeah.
I found more grenades.
Can someone make Kirby kiss Gene? I'm too. Mwah. Goofies. I am so lightheaded right now. Oh wow. Oh help.
I found 12 dynamite.
That's a good bullets. Shorty, I know. Maya he, Maya ho, Maya ha, Maya.
Hello?
Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Dar's banned from bombs.
Reach for the sky, Gene. I'll do it.
3,
Nope.
2, 1.
I didn't think it one shot, actually.
I finally feel like you do.
I didn't think it was one shot. God damn.
I've also been boosting my bow.
Oh, that's fair.
Your turn. Come shoot me. Oh, skeleton. I mean, skeleton. Zombie.
Don't mind me, I'm on with the bag. I'm just real quick do all that.
Okay, come hit me. Come hit me.
How many times does it do to you?
All right, wait. How many arrows do you have? How many explosive arrows do you have?
I got 17 for the crossbow.
Perfect. Okay, this is how we're gonna end stream. This is how we're gonna end stream. We're just gonna kill each other with explosive arrows. Let me get my stuff. Go onto the field.
Oh my god! All right.
This is so dumb. Thank you for the follow, Jade with an AI. Incoming hype train, finally!
Wait, we finally got a hype train incoming?
That's insane. Thank you for the resub. Welcome.
That's crazy. Now it triggers.
I discouraged you for an entire day, but it's been fun, isn't it? Okay, I think I can make some more. Give me a second. I need to get polymer. Okay, I have my arrowheads. Where's my polymers? Polymers, perfect. I think gunpowder. We need gunpowder. I need steel arrowheads. So for steel arrowheads, I need iron.
We have like a shit ton of steel arrowheads in the ammo. You good?
Yep. Okay, steel arrowheads, I got that. I just need I need glue or I need duct tape.
How many arrows you got?
I only have 7. I want more. Okay,
That's
we have this. Oh, there we go. This is gonna be easy. I got this. Give me a little bit to make some stuff. 69. Yay! Thank you. Y'all have been really amazing today. I hope you all know that. Like, I mean, you're always amazing. You're always amazing. I always appreciate y'all so much. Today's just been a bit extra goofy, and I had a lot of fun.
Today's been a goofy day, and we love them goofy days.
All right, it's gonna give me like a minute. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, look at you.
4. Okay. Give me 3 minutes. What allegations?
Right.
Not beating the allegations. What allegations? Gene, you know about the allegations? What? Well. Oh, I don't know about allegations.
They just supplied ammo on you. There could be arrows in there.
Okay. There's not... I don't ignore you, Vanya. What's up, Vanya? Vanya, you just happen to say something every time I look away. How you doing, Vanya? Oh, Vanya, you gave me bits! That was you? Sorry, I didn't see it. Thank you, Vanya. You have... I don't know what it is sometimes. I swear. I'll be, like, looking at you and talking to you, and then I'll look away, and that is when messages come through. But I apologize. Thank you for the biddies. Thank you. Thank you. I do appreciate it. All right, you ready, Dar?
Are we ready?
I'm gonna repair my bow. Oh shoot! Apparently, I'm scrapping a lot of bronze right now. There we go. Come on. What are you stealing? Don't steal from each other. Crazy. I was crazy once. I'm in room.
That's crazy one. Back to me. Rubber room.
Rubber room with rats. That's made me crazy.
Crazy? That was crazy once. Back to me in a room. A rubber room. A rubber room with rats. Rats are crazy.
Crazy?
That's crazy one.
Twitch just hates me. I also lowered the time to 1 hour, so I don't know. I swear that I'm being gifted subs during like when I'm not streaming, or like people are subbing while I'm not streaming, Because a few times I've seen like I'm looking at like the money and I'm like, I don't remember getting any subs this stream. Where are these subs coming from?
Imagine subbing offline. Kind of
Yeah,
weird.
Dar. Yeah, Dar.
Imagine doing that. That's kind of
Yeah,
weird.
that is kind of weird, ain't it? I mean, imagine having a founder's badge. Imagine having a founder's badge.
A founder's badge subbing offline. That would be
Yeah,
weird.
that's crazy. Do you know Vanya has a founder's badge now?
Hell yeah.
Right. We got cool people having founder's badge now. You did. Okay, you ready, Dar?
Yeah, here, let's go.
How many arrows do I have? I have 15 arrows. Okay.
Alright, we're basically even on the arrows. Only difference is I'm using a crossbow, you're using a fucking bow.
It's time, Dar.
Alright, is this enough distance?
It's enough distance. Go.
They spawned a whole bunch of animals on you, by the way.
That's fine. Yeah.
Bob and weave, boys!
Ah, dogs. No.
Bob and weave!
Right, no, not too close. No.
Bob and weave! I got 13 left if you want a round 2.
Oh, we're going round 2. We'll go best out of 3.
Best out of 3. Alright.
Unless we still have a lot of arrows.
Alright, but if we run out of arrows, we have to have a fist fight.
Bet. Lock and Dar.
Right,
Best out of 3. If we have more arrows, best out of 5. All right.
Let me know when you're ready.
3, 2, 1. Ha! Oh! Oh!
Oh, wait, why would you boost range? Oh, that's that. If any of us hit right now, it's just over. I'm surprised that one didn't get you.
Oh! I have like 2 arrows. Yes!
Oh, nice! You right when I pulled the trigger, you hit that.
Oh, your body! Alright, let me take some steroids.
You better make them count.
By the way, Dar,
Yeah.
I'm out of arrows. I'm coming at you with my fists.
I still got my arrows. Am I allowed to use them?
You're allowed to use your arrows. I'm coming at you with my fist.
Alright. So round 3 starting up your fist. I'm there. Got it. This seems like a fair time. Once I go take my fucking. Do I have any steroids left?
Do you need some steroids? Well, yeah.
I mean, I'll take some.
Yeah. Let me give you some steroids.
Alright, here we go. Oh, you guys gave him boosted melee? Alright.
I'm also drinking a beer. Are you ready?
You ready?
Let's go. I can't see you. I drank a beer. Come here, Dar. No. Let me beat you to death. Oh, spike walls.
Fucking spike walls are fucking me. Bro, that boosted melee is making you do so much fucking damage.
Yeah. Congratulations, Dar is the winner. Yippee! Chat, you gotta go follow Dar now. Legal card. Let's go shout out to Dar.
Yippee! Oh no, he's naked now. Oh my. Hey, Gene, you remember how a few streams ago we searched how long for fucking acid?
So long, yeah.
Hey, I want you to come here real quick.
I'm coming. Is it just a crate of
Do
acid?
you remember how ages ago we had the fucking blood moon here and there's a whole bunch of loot?
No, is that thing just full of acid?
I want you to come look at this box I'm standing on.
Okay, there's one acid in there. Ooh,
There
Bubbles.
was the one acid we needed.
Oh yeah, we did need one.
We needed one acid for the longest fucking time.
Don't worry about this yet. It's fine. She gets something.
Oh, and I landed on my own. I threw it and went right on it. I was at like 20 HP.
Oh, welcome back. Okay.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's a good way to end it. That's a good way to end it. Everybody, thank you all so much for today. It's been an incredible, goofy day. Thank you for the stretch.
Wait.
Are you gonna kill me again?
I gotta try to get my lucky knock you on your ass hit. One sec.
Alright, here we go. Don't kill me. What did I just say?
Kill you? I wanted to see the animation of you falling on your ass.
1 sec. Chat, here you go. There's your breakfast. Enjoy your breakfast. Let me go back to the normal screen. Oh, I hit the wrong button. There we are. All right, lovelies. It has been so much fun today. Dar, did you have a fun time?
Really? Oh yeah, that was a fun ending.
Start just making explosives so when we can kill each other with explosives at the end of every one.
Honestly, explosive arrow fights are kind of fucking fun. I think we need to do it more often.
We gotta get you a bow and make I think I gotta save my explosive arrows, which is fine. I'll happily save my explosive arrows. All right, lovelies. We're gonna find somebody to raid out to. This has been a lot of fun. I'm so lightheaded and giggly and happy.
By the way, I sent it to you, Gene. I want you whenever you later. Fucking, we got a logo made finally.
Oh, sick. All right, who
I
can
love
we
it so much.
raid to? Who's this? They're making food or something. Who is chill and vibes and fun right now?
That person.
Yeah, Kinsey? Okay. Y'all can watch Kinzel play Schedule 1, I think is what it's called. Yeah. So y'all be good. I've had a lovely, amazing time. Thank y'all for hanging out. And what are you doing, Dar? What are you doing? What are you doing, Dar?
Thank you for watching, chat.
Are we gonna, All right, we'll go send you out. Y'all be amazing. Y'all be beautiful. Y'all be the best that I know you can be. And we're gonna do a nice little lucky raid. I should do the emotes, but I don't have the emotes saved. So, lucky raid. KKK. Say hi. Be nice. Hang out there a little bit, and then feel free to head off. Y'all be good. Bye, everybody. Love ya. Mwah. I'm legitimately so lightheaded.